Hello and welcome, friends. So today we'll be going to build the third part, which is about authentication and authorization in the e-commerce application that we have seen in the past two parts. And let's have a quick recollection of what we have seen. So we have seen that we have got a cart, this is a product view in which there are a few flowers, and if you click on add to cart without increasing the quantity, it will add to the cart. If you click on OK, it will add to the cart. It will register through the JavaScript, and if you click on show cart, it will give you the cart view, and you are able to remove the cart or edit the products. So let's go to our Visual Studio. Let's close this and go to Visual Studio and come back to our Solution Explorer and our project and start coding the next part. So the next part for authentication and authorization, there is a content on Microsoft Learn. I will put it in the details in the description of the video, and you can see that you can add it as a reference. You can use it as a reference, which I have also used, and there is a scaffolding mechanism in place, which I will show you soon. Please hang on till the end of this tutorial to get the full value out of this tutorial. And let's right click, add, and new scaffolded item. So I'm going to get a scaffolded item, and here you can see that there are a lot of installed items already there, but I will click identity and click on add. So it will add the identity scaffolding, and it will come up with some choices which you'll see. So now, friends, on the add identity wizard, I have the choice of overriding all of these files, but these files are not available. So what I will do, select an existing layout page or specify a new one. Okay, so here this in my case, the layout page will be here. If you close this for a while, my layout page, where is my layout page? My layout page, I'll have to cancel this one also. Views, shared layout. So I already have an existing layout page. So what I will do, I will come back again to the project level, right click and add a new scaffolded item, and click on identity and add, and it will come back again with the same screen as earlier. Now this time I will click on this ellipsis button, 3 dots, which will take me to the project folders on the left hand side, and then views, and then shared, and then layout.cshtml, validation scripts partial.cshtml, error.cshtml, and I'll highlight this, or even if I don't highlight this, then it will be great. So I'll have to highlight this and click on OK, and then it will be there, view shared layout.cshtml. Okay, and tilde is the relative path to the views, and then shared and layout.cshtml, and then DB context class. Here it is required. Now my DB context class, I'll have to add a new data context for identity. You see, if you recall, we have a data context class product DB context, which was here in the data folder. There is a product context class, but this is an identity DB context we will add, because we need to create some tables for the identity. If you are already coming from the ASP.NET Core background, and if you have earlier created a project which uses individual user accounts, then automatically some tables are users table, role, and several other tables are automatically created. But this time I am going to integrate those tables into my existing project that didn't have authentication or authorization. So click on this button, and it is letting me add a data context. New data context type is this. So it is a very large database context type. So what I can cut short, I can customize this, and let me customize this take this part off, make it as short as possible for remembering, for the sake of brevity. E-commerce shopping cart, ASP.NET 8 context, or you can simply say e-commerce identity. Anything you'd like. E-commerce identity context. All right. E-commerce, let me see any typo is there or not, because I don't like having typos, even though it is forgiving that way. So click on add, and this will add the DB context class. Okay, new DB context class. And database provider in my case is I will go for SQLite, because we are using MSSQL local DB, as you are already aware of. So that is SQLite. And user class, okay, let us create a user class, and let us give it a name, suitable name like e-commerce. Okay, let it be like e-commerce user. Okay, just make it short and simple as possible, and click on add. This will add all the NuGet packages required and updating the dependency information. And let's see, we'll come back after this is over. Scaffolding, see that this has already scaffolded an areas folder, which was not there available earlier. So within the areas, there is the identity folder created, and there is a data folder created, which have this two. This is the context class that we have asked it to create, and this is the e-commerce user class. So e-commerce user class is deriving from identity user class. It is a child class of identity user. Here you can create some property values, like the user's properties, like full name, email address, phone number, etc., etc. So let's create just one property. Okay, just better to leave with just one property for the time being, at least. So public string full name. Okay, click on save, and then in this context class, so in this e-commerce identity context class that is created when we scaffolded the identity, which derives from, or which extends the identity DB context with e-commerce user. Now here you got this on model creating method, which accepts a builder parameter of model builder type. It is written that customize the ASP.NET identity model and override the defaults if needed. For example, you can rename the ASP.NET identity table names and more. But I will go with the default that will be created, as we'll soon see. But before creating the migration, see, at the moment there's no migration folders. So we'll add a migration, and before that we need to do some changes in the program.cs class, program class. Okay, so by default, when we are creating the identity scaffolding, you can see this line was not there, and this has been added automatically by the scaffolder builder.services dot add default identity e-commerce user. You remember a step back. If you get a step back, you can see that e-commerce user was the name that was given by me for the e-commerce user class, which is again here, e-commerce user. And then going back to the program class, options, which options with the lambda expression, options dot sign in dot required confirmed account equals true dot add entity framework stores e-commerce identity context. So it was automatically added. So now we have to add another line. After app.use routing, we'll bring in the extension method app.use authorization. Authorization is already there, so authentication, use authentication. All right, so between routing and use authorization, you have to place this authentication, use authentication extension method for authentication to work before the authorization. So another thing that we could do is to in the layout.cshtml file, we can bring in the login partial view. This we can place over here. So below the div and above the UL class, unordered list class, we'll have to place this. We'll place login partial over here. Basically it is giving me the ahref, so I will actually revert back. So I'll just paste this markup partial name login partial. So if you look at login partial method here, login partial, it is already open, I think. So you see, if sign in manager dot is signed in, if the user is signed in, then it will show hello and the user's name, user manager dot get username, giving the user details, and it will show the logout form. It will show the welcome form, hello form, and the logout form. But if on the other end the user is not logged in, it will show you have to either register, or if you are already registered, just log in. Okay, so register and login will be there in the navigation buttons. All right, and another thing that we have to look in before going for the migration is, if you double click this, there is this NuGet package which is very important. Microsoft.AspNetCore.diagnostic.entity framework core, which was already there in my case, the latest version 8. All right, so now we are ready for the migration. So remember, we have got this SQL Server Object Explorer and the database, and the database at the moment, e-commerce flower DB, all that we have got is dbo.product. Now, before doing the identity schema migration to add all those identity table, there's one last step, one small step, that is, we have got this e-commerce identity context created for us automatically through the scaffolding mechanism. Now you can see that earlier we have got an add DB context with product context, so that product context was registered. Now similarly we'll have to register e-commerce identity context. So we'll copy these two lines. And change the bits. So instead of product context, this will have our e-commerce identity context. But for that, we'll have to bring this areas identity and data table. So using I think it's already there, using e-commerce shopping cart AspNet8.areas.identity.data. So this will not be required. So I'll just comment it out. Okay, so instead of product context, we will have this, it should be there, e-commerce identity context. So I got it, the correct one. And rest of the things are the same because we are going to use the same default connection, same connection string that we are using for the product context. So just save it and then bring tools and package manager console. and here I will add no, that's not the right one. So add migration, paste from my clipboard. The build started, create identity schema, context, e-commerce, identity context. And if everything is all right, its migration is already added. So you see the migrations folder, you've got this snapshot and create identity schema files already there. So if you look into the snapshot first, so it gives a model snapshot, and in the build model it has got an entity, model builder.entity, and it has got all the schemas, code necessary for creating the schema for the identity. All right, for all the tables is so this table, if you are familiar with this notation, identity.data. E-commerce user, it will create one table and it will create another table, identity role, and then identity role claim, etc., etc. And if you see this file, see, I have given it a name, create identity schema. Okay, and it has created the partial class with the same name, and it derives from migration. It has got these tables will be created with ASP.NET role, ASP.NET users, ASP.NET role claims, and so on and so forth. Okay, so we'll bring up our the next and the last step is so tools again, and package manager console, and I have to update the database. The step is to update the database with the same e-commerce identity context. So paste it. So you can see all those SQL queries are automatically created and done. All right, great. So let's see our result, output, final output. So we'll actually refresh the SQL server, databases, e-commerce flower DB, tables, and you can see all the tables are there already. ASP.NET users, dbo.product was there, and these all other tables have been created as a result of authentication and authorization through identity schema. So great. Now let's test this, how it looks like. So click on this green icon for running the application. So I have got already on my other screen. So let us bring it over on the screen where I am recording. You have got this register and login. So register. It is not opening at the moment. Let's see. Now, before running the application, I had to make two more changes in the program class or program file. That was, if the application environment is a development environment, then use migrations endpoint. Okay, app.use migrations endpoint. And if it is not development environment, then use the exception handler /home/error and use HSTS. Okay, this is optional. You may get rid of this. Okay, this is the adding middleware to add a strict transport security header, but for demonstration or training purposes, it is not required. But you have to also add app.mapraiser pages. So if you now run this application, so now this register, you can register, okay, with an email. Say for me, it is just test 1 2 3 4 for registering. Parse at least one non-alphanumeric character. Okay, so test 1 2 3 4 at the simplest one, and then register. SQL exception: cannot insert the value null into column full name table e-commerce column does not allow nulls, insert fails. Okay, so that is another thing. So you can, to correct this error, that's simple actually. So what I will do, this our user table is automatically created, so I will use string full name and potential fixes, non-nullable property, make it nullable. Okay, string nullable. All right, and then run this application once more. So now I had created a nullable full name, but I have to update the database again. Okay, so again run this update database command, and it's all done. Now let's run this application and see the output, if it is working all right or not. If you're lucky, if we are all right in our approach, it should work now as required. So register, a database operation, they are pending model changes, add migration. Okay, so I'll have to add another migration and then update the database. All right, that's not an issue. I will do that and come back again. Now after correcting all the migration and doing the migration again, because we have changed the model for the e-commerce identity user, we have made it a full name nullable string, and I have done everything to add the migration once again and update the database, and then everything is working fine. I have created the registration and click here to confirm your account. Okay, because this app doesn't use a real email sender registered, and then click here to confirm my account. Thanks for confirming your email, and then I can log in with my credential. Let's see, the password is again test 1 2 3 4 at. Just you can confirm from here and then log in, and I am logged in already. Hello davidkaushik@gmail.com. log out. I can log out. That's it. So at the moment after logging out, it is trying to take me to the home page, but that is not configured, so that doesn't matter actually. So I have been able to show you how to add the authentication and authorization. Okay, thank you very much for being a part of this journey for the part 3. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel, please share it with your friends and put your valuable comments. Thank you.